Over the past 10 years, the Golden State Warriors have dominated the NBA, all thanks to the fantastic talent present on their team. They've won 4 NBA championships since 2015. That's some consistency. They've got infinite talent on their team with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green leading from the front. But today, we're here to talk about some of the worst draft mistakes they've ever made. Let's dive in. First up, Wayne Hightower. So Wayne Hightower was picked up by the Warriors in the 1962 draft, and he was the 7th overall pick, and with that, one of their worst picks ever. The Warriors were having a good time, and Wilt Chamberlain was in great form for them. He had a 50.4 PPG and a 25.7 RPG season, but they wanted more and were looking for another prolific scorer to help Chamberlain. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but the man they chose to support Chamberlain wasn't what they expected. Hightower didn't have a good time at all with the Warriors. He only played 2.5 years with the team and could only average 10.1 PPG and 6 RPG during his stint with the Warriors. Instead of Hightower, the Warriors should have gone with John Havlicek, the 9th overall pick in that draft. The Boston Celtics picked up John Havlicek, and he went on to become one of the best players in the team's history. Havlicek was an 8-time NBA champion, 13-time NBA All-Star, and made it to the All-NBA team selection 11 times in his career. Chamberlain and Havlicek would have created some fireworks for the Warriors. Up next, Barry Kramer. Barry Kramer was picked up in the 1964 draft and was the 8th overall pick. Kramer's time with the Warriors was nothing short of disappointing. The 6'4" forward only played 33 games for the Warriors and could only average a horrible 3.1 PPG and 1.8 RPG. Finally, the Warriors made the right call and released the player mid-season, who the New York Knicks then picked up. Unfortunately for him, though, his time with basketball was over after that season with the Knicks, and he left the sport to attend law school. He also played for the New York Nets in the ABA, but he only played 7 games for the league and averaged 3.9 PPG. The Warriors didn't make some great choices during that season, as Wilt Chamberlain was traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. Having lost one of their best scorers, the right choice would have been to pick Willis Reed, who was also available in that same draft. But instead, they went with Barry Kramer, which didn't turn out so well for them. The Knicks picked up Reed, and we all know how that turned out. He went on to win 2 NBA titles for them and the Finals MVP awards for both championships. It would have been a different story if the Warriors had chosen Reed instead of Kramer. Coming up, Purvis Short. Purvis Short was picked by the Warriors in the 1978 draft and was the 5th overall pick. We're not saying that picking Purvis Short was a bad choice because he went on to spend 9 years with the Warriors, and in those 9 years, he averaged 19.4 PPG, but these weren't his best stats as he averaged 28 PPG in 1985. But if we compare Short stats with the man the Warriors missed out on, it isn't even close. Wondering who it is? That man is Larry Bird. The Boston Celtics picked him up in the next pick after Purvis Short. Even though he managed to average 24 PPG and 10 RPG in his career, he still became one of the best players of all time. Bird led the Celtics from the front and helped them win 3 NBA championships. He also won 2 Finals MVP awards and 3 MVP awards. All this just tells us that the Warriors missed out on an absolute gem of a player in that draft. Moving on, Russell Cross. The Warriors picked Russell Cross up in the 1983 draft and was the 6th overall pick. His NBA career was shorter than the Warriors imagined, as he only managed to play 45 games for the team. In those 45 games, Cross averaged 3.7 PPG, which is ridiculous. The Denver Nuggets then picked him up after being let off the hook by the Warriors in the offseason, but sadly for Cross, he never played an NBA game again. On the other hand, Clyde Drexler was also available in the same draft. He could have proven to be the type of player the Warriors were looking for in that draft had they chosen him. The Portland Trail Blazers instead picked Drexler, and his numbers speak for themselves. He was an astonishing athlete who averaged 27 PPG at his peak. He made it to the All-NBA team 5 times in his career. After a stint with the Trail Blazers, he joined the Houston Rockets, where he won his only NBA title. Now for Joe Smith. The Warriors picked Joe Smith up in the 1995 draft and was the 1st overall pick. Standing at 6 foot 10 inches, he was a huge guy and had a decent start to his career with the Warriors. Smith spent 2.5 seasons with the Warriors and averaged 17 PPG during his time there. Throughout his career, he played for 13 teams and averaged 10.9 PPG. The Warriors missed out big time on a player like Kevin Garnett in the same draft. Minnesota Timberwolves later picked Garnett, and just to rub salt in the Warriors' wounds, he became one of the best power forwards in basketball. As good as he was going forward, he was a great defender too. Garnett won the MVP award in 2004 and the Defensive Player of the Year award in 2008. Moving on, Todd Fuller. The Warriors picked Todd Fuller up in the 1996 draft, and he was the 11th overall pick. Fuller was a hype player who couldn't live up to it in the NBA. He only spent 5 seasons in the NBA, and in those 5 years, he couldn't stick with one team. He played for 4 different teams in those 5 years, and he could never perform at the top level. In his 132 games with the Warriors, they only averaged 4 PPG, which is absurd. The Warriors messed up their draft that year. Guess who the Warriors missed out on in that draft? None other than Mr. Kobe Bryant. He was picked up by the Hornets in that draft and was soon traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. We don't need to tell you what happened next. Kobe Bryant went on and made history in the NBA. He became one of the greatest players ever to grace this sport. Many consider him the best player ever. Just imagine if Kobe had joined the Warriors. Madness. Next up, Adonal Foyle. Adonal Foyle was the 8th overall pick in the 1997 draft. Foyle was a decent player in college, but couldn't perform at the same level for the Warriors. Like in his best season, the guy could only average 5.9 ppg, which is nothing. Tracy McGrady was the 9th overall pick in the same draft and was picked up by the Toronto Raptors. It took him a little while, but he finally got going in the NBA and gave some clutch performances for his teams. Following up, Mike Dunleavy. Mike Dunleavy was the 3rd overall pick in the 2002 draft. He was an exciting talent in college and a great shooter and defender. That's why the Warriors picked him up, but he's another player on the list who couldn't perform at their best in the NBA. He played for 5 different teams in his career, and in his best season, he could only average 13.44 ppg. In the same draft, the Phoenix Suns picked up Amari Stoudemire. He became an NBA All-Star and had some good seasons for his team. He helped his team in crucial moments and was always an important player. Stoudemire would have been a much better pick for the Warriors. Finally, Ekpe Udoh. Ekpe Udoh was picked by the Warriors in the 2010 draft and was the 6th overall pick, but he couldn't announce himself for the Warriors or in fact the NBA. He played for 4 teams throughout his 9-year career and said goodbye to the NBA in 2019. The Indiana Pacers picked up Paul George in the same draft. He went on to become a very good player. He's famous for shot creating and defending abilities. The Warriors team would have been something else if they also added George to their team, but maybe it wasn't meant to be. That's a wrap for this video. Out of all these players the Warriors missed out on, who do you think should have been a Warriors player? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.